Tonight on KGW News, the appeals court ruling that paves the way for the National Guard to hit local streets.
The fight is not over.
Why Oregon's governor says that can't happen yet. Plus, new reaction from those who continue to protest at Portland's ICE building.
There's only so much tear gas you can give us before we're immune.
Then fire in the cabin and at 30,000 feet, the cause that's becoming all too common. And later, how in the world did robbers get their hands on crown jewels inside the largest museum on the planet? Good evening. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has essentially cleared the way for President Trump to send National Guard troops to Portland. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. In a 2-1 ruling today, the two judges, both Trump appointees, said they were pausing the restraining order issued by a lower court, in part because that judge did not give enough deference to the president. They also said federal officers are stretched thin at the South Portland ICE facility, with local law enforcement unwilling or unable to support them. Meanwhile, the dissenting judge, a Clinton appointee, called the majority decision not only absurd, but one that, quote, erodes core constitutional principles. The ruling, by the way, only dealt with one of two restraining orders blocking the deployment. In team coverage tonight, we'll check in with Catherine Cook live at the ICE building. But first to Alma McCarty. And Alma, it sounds like the legal battle here is far from over.
Yeah, David, while the appeals court sided with the president, leaders in Oregon say not so fast. Attorneys for the state and the city of Portland asked for a reconsideration to have an even bigger panel of judges from the Ninth Circuit review this decision. And the governor said in a media briefing this afternoon that for now, troops cannot be deployed.
Over the weekend, people across Oregon gathered peacefully to send a message to the Trump administration that that administration is being dishonest, and these actions to deploy troops are a gross, un-American abuse of power.
A frank opening statement from Governor Tina Kotek Monday as state leaders learned the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals 2-1 ruling, allowing the president to federalize the Oregon National Guard and deploy those troops to Portland.
Right now, until the district court acts on the second temporary restraining order, National Guard members from Oregon, or from other states for that matter, cannot be deployed.
Monday evening, lawyers for the feds filed a motion to throw out that second, broader TRO. That order 2 weeks ago came in response to the Trump administration's attempt to send out-of-state National Guard to Portland. Meantime, Oregon's Attorney General calling the 2-1 decision on the first TRO a dangerous path and saying that Monday's ruling, if allowed to stand, would, quote, give the president unilateral power to put Oregon soldiers on our streets with almost no justification. His team now urging the full Ninth Circuit to support what's called an en banc review of this case.
Normally in all other circuits, that's the entire judiciary, but because the Ninth Circuit is so large and has so many judges, they usually limit it to 10, and usually those hearings take place in San Francisco.
Portland's mayor vowing to work with the state and use every lawful tool to prevent federal overreach. For now, Governor Kotek told reporters the Guard members who've been training at Camp Rylea and Camp Withacombe remain in limbo.
But if there's a way to move as quickly as possible to vacate this order, I hope they do that.
And one legal expert that we spoke with told KGW that although there's no set of rules for this, it's pretty time sensitive, and we will likely have some answers in the next couple of days. David?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the White House and Pentagon do as well. Thank you, Alma. Well, team coverage continues with Catherine Cook live at the South Portland ICE building, the one at the center of all of this. So, Catherine, how are things looking tonight, and what are folks there saying about this ruling?
David, they're continuing to stand their ground out here in the face of today's ruling. For many, it's energized them. Though I can tell you tonight, it's very calm out here. There are several protesters on each of the corners, but quiet, really, considering that a contingency of federal agents we usually see around this time of night have not come out. That usually riles up the crowd. As far as National Guard troops are concerned, no one out here seems to know what's next. Outside the ICE building in South Portland, protesters were undeterred.
There is no other option. We are here until the bitter end.
This after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling cleared the way for Trump to send Oregon National Guard troops.
It seems to me like they're already here. I mean, it's like one more thing on his bad side of the ledger. Right now, it's all Nazi on one side, anarchy on the other, and we need to find a way to have a conversation. Right now, Trump is not interested in conversation.
Portland captured the president's attention back in June with a number of violent demonstrations outside the ICE building. Protesters circled the facility and broke glass on the doors. At least one federal officer was injured. The feds responded with pepper balls and rubber bullets, at times, witnesses say, hitting people who weren't involved. But it wasn't until late September that the president ordered the National Guard deployed to the city. State and local officials pushed back, arguing that the administration grossly exaggerated the scale of what's happening now. Monday offered a snapshot of most days out here, including protesters, some in costumes, others swearing through a bullhorn. At one point, federal agents detained 2 people as they moved protesters away from the building. The question remains, what would this scene look like if National Guard troops were here? We know troops would be trained in crowd control but couldn't make arrests, and their primary mission would be protecting federal property. Many here say no matter how things out here change, they're not afraid of what's to come.
There's really only so much fear that you can put in people before they just are numb to that. There's only so much tear gas you can give us before we're immune.
Back live in South Portland, again, it's unclear when National Guard troops would actually show up outside this federal ICE building. It's also worth noting that President Trump now says he wants to send National Guard troops to San Francisco as well. David, back to you.
Hey, Catherine Cook on the South Waterfront tonight. Catherine, appreciate your reporting. By the way, if you notice any extra noise in the sky this week, it's likely because the Oregon Air National Guard is conducting night training, not related to the Guard deployment. The F-15 missions start tonight and will last through Thursday. The Guard says the training allows its pilots to meet Air Force requirements. Flights should wrap up by 10 each evening. Well, speaking of the ICE protests, this all started because of increased immigration enforcement. Now it appears that fear is keeping some families from getting the help they need. Oregon's busiest food pantry, the Northeast Emergency Food Program on Northeast 72nd, says it saw a 25% drop in the number of families served the first half of this year. It attributes at least part of that to families who are worried about ICE and are too anxious to pick up their weekly supplies. Food bank managers telling us they're also concerned for volunteers, specifically those who are U.S. citizens, but also speak Spanish.
There are people who are simply afraid of being in a public space like this. They feel vulnerable, even if they are here legally, if they have all of their papers. They're just afraid to be in a place because of the risk of detention and unknown consequences.
Well, on the other hand, pantry staff say they've also seen a slight bump in clients coming in over the past week, illustrating their growing need. They believe that is related to recent cuts in federal food assistance programs. Okay, let's take you outside on this Monday night. Another beautiful fall day, though, with some significant changes approaching later this week. Matt, it sounds like you are calling for the first weather impact alert day we've had in a while.
Yeah, that comes on Friday. In the meantime, we got a couple of great days on the way, including tomorrow. Now, it's clear outside right now. We're down to 51 degrees, but notice humidity is up to 89%. So our immediate concern is for fog tomorrow morning. So far, temperatures are dropping down to the mid-40s out in Hillsborough, 46 in McMinnville. We're in the low 40s at Tillamook, and in fact, Tillamook is where we have the thickest fog. Visibility last hour was down to a quarter mile. Now it's down to 0. So some really thick fog in the Tillamook Valley. Visibility was down to a couple miles in Chehalis. It's now risen a bit. Everybody else still doing okay, but I expect fog to be forming throughout the Willamette Valley by tomorrow morning. Then our attention turns to the stormy weather that's on our way at the end of the week. Couple of big storms already visible across the North Pacific, and we're going to see several of them roll our way, but not tomorrow. Fog in the morning gives way to sunshine, and in fact, tomorrow will be the warmest day of the week. We get up to about 67 degrees. So thick morning fog tomorrow. Weather impact alert is for Friday as an atmospheric river takes aim at the northwest, and then snow comes to the Cascades Saturday night, Sunday, and into Monday. In fact, this will be heavy snow at times. We'll let you know how much we may see. David?
Yeah, ski season not far off. Thanks, Matt. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a surfer has died after getting caught in a sneaker wave on the Oregon coast. This was Sunday afternoon near Siletz Bay. Rescuers received reports that a 43-year-old woman from Corvallis got caught in a strong current south of Lincoln City and was pulled out to sea. Her body was later recovered. Oregon has begun notifying residents enrolled in the SNAP program that they will not receive new benefits after the end of the month. The governor says the Trump administration directed states to halt distribution of November SNAP benefits because of the government shutdown. Now, SNAP serves roughly 1 in 6 residents in Oregon, and about 200,000 SNAP recipients are children. And the plan to build a new earthquake-ready Burnside Bridge is now delayed indefinitely. County leaders say that's because they're unlikely to get federal funds to move forward with the project. Now, there is no set start date for construction. That's after it had been pushed back from 2027 to 2028. The project price tag is also up to almost $2 billion from the original $900 million estimate.
And for the first time in 32 years, the Blue Jays have won the pennant.
Well, that was the moment tonight when the Mariners' World Series dreams came to an end. A 1-run loss, the Toronto Blue Jays capping off what was otherwise really an incredible season for Seattle. Art Edwards is here. Art, just was not meant to be.
I guess it really wasn't. You know what? It was a fantastic game today. Great series between those two teams. The Mariners and the Blue Jays finished a captivating series with drama at Rogers Center in Toronto. The Mariners looking to get to the World Series for the first time in franchise history. Seattle off to a good start in this one. First inning, Josh Naylor with the single to put the Mariners up 1-0 at that point. Now, the Blue Jays were able to tie it at 1 in the bottom of the inning, and then that set up Julio Rodriguez. In the third inning, he smashes a home run to center field, and the Mariners regain the lead. 2-1 is the lead at that point. And then in the fifth inning, the Seattle Mariners in the driver's seat. Cal Raleigh continued his amazing season. He parks one in the stands in right field, his 4th homer of the postseason, to give the Mariners a 3-1 lead. But Toronto's George Springer, he broke the hearts of the Mariners and their fans with a 3-run blast to left center field. 4-3, Blue Jays win it, the final score.
Disappointed. We gave it our all, but, you know, they played a great game, and go be the Dodgers.
It hurts, but I don't want that to take away from, you know, like I said, I'm proud of the guys in this room. I thought we fought all the way to the end. Like I said, it was a great group of guys, and I loved every single one of them.
So the Blue Jays will play the Dodgers in the World Series. The World Series starts on Friday. The Mariners, they have to wait for their World Series shot.
A lot of fans in the Northwest hurting tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it, Art.